Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with garlic noodles. That's right, I'm going to show you how to make San Francisco-style garlic noodles, which I'd have to say is one of our lesser-known local delicacies. And while this is usually served as a side dish for garlic roasted crab, it would pair perfectly with pretty much any other main course, or as I'll be enjoying it today, all by itself. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And we'll begin with our secret sauce. And for that, what we're going to need is some soy sauce, and not the low sodium kind. Okay, we're going to need that sodium. We're also going to need some oyster sauce. And if you're not sure what that is, I'll explain in the blog post. And then we will also drizzle in a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, as well as its distant cousin, Asian fish sauce, which I always feel like I have to remind people, tastes like 100 times better than it smells. And then we will finish up with just a little touch of sesame oil, as well as the obligatory shake of cayenne. And that's it. We will give that a stir with our freakishly small wooden spoon. And as soon as that is mixed, our secret sauce is done. Although once everybody sees the video, we're going to have to come up with a different name for the sauce. And then besides that very savory solution, we're also going to need a ton of finely minced or crushed garlic, as well as some butter to saute it in. And believe it or not, a little bit of freshly and finely grated Parmesan cheese. And then last but not least, a little bit of sliced green onion to garnish the top. And by the way, since this recipe comes together so quickly, we are probably going to want to prep all that stuff before we head to the stove. Which reminds me, let's head to the stove, where we're going to melt our butter in a skillet set over medium heat. And what we'll do as soon as that butter melts and starts to bubble is carefully add our garlic, and we'll cook that stirring for just about 1 minute. Okay, we basically just want to take off the raw edge. We do not want this to brown. So like I said, we will stir that around for about 1 minute. And fair warning, it is going to smell insanely good. And then you may have heard the old saying, keep your friends close, your enemies closer, and your secret sauce even closer than that. And the reason we want that sauce right next to us is because as soon as our garlic is sizzled for about a minute, and we think it's just right, we'll go ahead and quickly stir that in, which will immediately stop the garlic from cooking any further in the butter. Alright, so do not add the garlic to the pan unless you can reach your sauce. And as soon as that's been stirred in, we will simply turn off the heat and reserve that until needed. In other words, until our noodles are cooked. And by noodles, in my case, I mean spaghetti, which I'm going to go ahead and add to this very generously salted boiling water. And in case you're wondering if other kind of noodles will work, yes, every single one of them. So if you want to use some actual Chinese egg noodles, like the ones they use for chow mein, or maybe some ramen, go for it. I mean, you are, after all, the Alexander Graham Bell of your garlic noodle. So feel free to experiment with different varieties. But personally, a nice thick spaghetti is my favorite. But anyway, we have our sauce in the pan ready and waiting, and our noodles are boiling nearby. Oh, and I should mention, we're not going to drain the pasta. When it's ready, I'm just going to use my tongs to fish it out like this and add it to the pan directly, because we actually want a little bit of water coming with it. Oh, and one tip here, cook the noodles all the way. Alright, al dente pasta really doesn't work as well here. So I cooked that spaghetti for the full time, until it was perfectly tender. At which point, like I said, we will fish that out and add it directly to the pan. And the reason I'm doing it this way is you can probably see a little bit of water is coming with it, which is very important. Alright, we want to keep things nice and moist. And what we'll do here is toss those noodles in the sauce until it's completely coated. At which point we'll stop and add our cheese, if we're using it. And basically as soon as that's all been stirred in, we are pretty much ready to serve. And remember, just like virtually every pasta noodle dish we make, if we think things are getting a little dry, we can always just add a little more of that pasta water into the pan, which is what you see me doing here. And that's it. Once our noodles have been successfully sauced, we can go ahead and plate up, which I will be doing in one of my 2 Asian-style bowls. And then, because this is maybe not the most visually impressive dish ever, I do like to finish the top with a few red chili flakes, as well as some sliced green onions. And that's it, our San Francisco-style garlic noodles are done. And if there was ever a recipe that under-promised and over-delivered, it's this one. Alright, it might seem kind of simple and not look that exciting, but assuming you enjoy garlic, this is going to be one of the best things you've ever eaten. And it actually reminds me of the Italian pasta dish aglio olio, in that it is so deceptively simple, yet profoundly satisfying. Although I have to admit, thanks to our formerly secret sauce, this is actually much more savory. And as I mentioned earlier, this is traditionally served with a roasted garlic crab, which really is an incredible pairing. But these noodles would be just as good paired with something like shrimp or chicken, or maybe even underneath a nice pork chop. But of course, the true test of any pasta or noodle dish. It has to be good enough to eat on its own. And this, my friends, most certainly is. And as you saw, this was very simple to put together and extremely fast to make. Which is why I really do hope you give this a try soon. So head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.